Oh, hey everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. I decided not to show my face today for personal reasons, but I fancied making a recording, so here I am. Um, I've been doing fine, I guess. Well, I haven't really been doing fine, but there's a lot of confusion, and at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of clarity showing up as well. But I just thought I'd talk a little bit about myself today. Um, a lot of this stuff is quite personal, but I don't know. It's just a way for me to vent myself as well. So yeah, I think it's been a lot of like it's been a lot of feelings recently, quite difficult to describe, um, and it's very much so related to the previous video about loneliness, isolation in a world that seems to be filled with crazy or insane people. And I remember when I was a kid, and I still hold that to this day. I remember when trying to interact with people, wanting to see them as like another person like myself. But I guess when I was a kid, I understood intuitively that everything that you present in front of you, like to other people, is just a facade, or like something that's culturally acceptable, and that it wasn't exactly who the real person actually was inside. And I'd always taken my approach at people with that in mind. Then you find out later on that a lot of people, as they develop, as they grow up, they end up almost becoming that public figure that they've created in their mind. And there's not much else to it there. There's a lot of defense mechanisms around it. It's the feeling of rejection, you know, from friend groups, potential friend groups, or relations, even romantic relationships. That's all. It's like something that's built into the human inherently. We used to live in hunter-gatherer societies of 50 to 150 people. Then, to be rejected by your group is very could almost mean death. So it's like this feelings that you have around that subject area, rejection, feeling of loneliness, not having your needs for connection, real heart and heart connection with other people. That's built into us. It's built to drive us towards other people. And like that, I wasn't quite aware of it back then, but it does get to you. And I even have that raw feeling within me now, and it's a survival mechanism. And it's weird because you look at society and everything's designed, such that it's every man for himself. It's literally built in for us to separate ourselves. And it's very crazy because when people's persona or their public image has just become them, in that way. They can't see how they're sabotaging themselves, and they end up becoming isolated and separate from other people. And I've always looked at that, and I've seen people in their reactions towards something that's out of the box to be that of, you can't entertain the idea because it would destroy what you know, and what you know is what you've been told you should know, because it's socially acceptable to correspond with the survival mechanism to be able to coexist with your humans, other people. So I've always, my approach, my engagements with people have always been genuine, like from the heart, to wanting to know who the person really is, what of them has not been absorbed into something that doesn't serve them. I mean, those nomadic tribal cultures, they had their downsides, but you look at cultures like the Native Americans, their entire culture was based around equilibrium, balance with nature. They would still eat meat, but they would make the killing of their deer, or I'm not sure what they used to hunt around that area. I assume it's deer, but I could just be a complete idiot in that regard. But any animal they would kill, they would treat it with reverence and respect, and they would make it into a whole ceremony ritual. They would thank Mother Earth for her providing them subsistence only when it's required. They would put things back into the earth that they took. So they had a respect in that regard. Their culture made sense for them, that it corresponded with the laws of nature that we're governed by. We can't cross those lines, otherwise Mother Earth fights back and puts us in our place, which our culture is antithetical towards life, it seems. But like, going back to myself, that genuine wanting to see into the character of people, because when we have mutual understanding of everyone's strengths, weaknesses, how you stand, like psychologically, care for others, that comes out, because we now are able to understand why we act in certain ways, why we do what we do, and how there's dimensions of our psychology that are we're completely unconscious towards, yet other people might use that particular area of psychology that you're oblivious to, like as their primary means of perceiving reality. I mean, a lot of that's to do with the whole Jungian cognitive type theory, but it's like and a lot of people don't really like that, because I guess to anyone who's trying to find out who they are, what this place is, why they're here, what they should be doing with their lives, people think they know what they should be doing with their lives, but they actually have just been told that that's what they should be doing with their lives. People are just given an outcome, a program to follow, a treadmill to run on, and then they do that, have kids, die, then the kids do the same thing. But we're being led, even through my short 26 years being on this place, you know, I've seen how my own generation has been plugged in to this technological matrix grid, this electronic archetype that siphons attention, and actually is just an extension of that egoic front, that public image. Everything's fake. You know, you look at these advertisements and we all know what they're about, but just it's just so blatant. They show care for the customer, but you know, shops for instance, everything's pristine in the shop, but the streets around it is covered with litter. Anything that goes outside of wanting to appear a certain way, anything that would require an act of selflessness, and not major selflessness, but just, you know, the street is an example, like how that ended up being. It's just about gratification of senses, and then, you know, I'm fucking lonely, but not because there's not people in my life, but I just find that you know, I'm surrounded by people in my life, but they just don't satisfy my need for connectiveness, of understanding the layers of the onion, like above where we're told we're meant to be led, and why what we're doing has any significant meaning. You know, like the typical response is do something altruistic, do I don't know, volunteering work, expand your horizons, expand your mind, meet new people. But then you look at like the culture we have and what it's done to other cultures, other parts of the world. We've become a third world plantation, and then you see the options, you know, charities, what do? I don't even think most of the profits go towards doing what they intend to do, yet the culture that we live in is so toxic that it's creating the issue to begin with. It's creating the so-called poverty that the charity is fighting. So then you realize that, and then you realize that, oh, being that pathway for altruism, for, you know, being able to, you know, you're trying to make a difference, you're trying to help heal the state of the place that we're in, you know, that's just kind of pointless. So, and it's like everything that is mainstream has, you know, that comes across as something that's good or genuine, it's all been co-opted to, I don't know, I think in case people who have some, you know, the people who do have some kind of empathy or want to do something, that to disempower them as well. It's very difficult to actually find some meaningful action in this place that is actually part of it, part of the cultural, this global operating system that we're all unfortunately dragged into through the mechanism of government. But you know, there's all that, it's like everything, every option that they provide, every road, every avenue that they open up for you to make a connection with this society, for you, you know, I'm not rebellious for the sake of causing carnage, absolutely not, but I'm kind of forced into this position just because the society provides no avenue, no option to actually do something here that has meaning, where the actions move towards something that aids our evolution and doesn't degrade it. So, you know, as I was growing up, I found it very difficult to connect with the people of my own age group, and you know, I'm an only child, so I didn't really have any siblings around me, so a lot of the time I don't know, like, I could be a little bit autistic as well. That's very possible, and I know everyone is a bit autistic, but it's different layers of the spectrum. That's what I've just assumed, or perhaps it's just gaslighting and I'm neurotypical and everyone else is backwards. I don't know. But, you know, I just remember spending large chunks of my childhood basically in my room playing video games, like I mentioned in the previous video. And you know, I thought at that time that I was happy, and looking back at it, it was merely just a coping mechanism of, you know, to deal with not being able to feel connected with the people around me. Lots of time spent alone, lots of time in nature. It was great, but we are social creatures. That's how we've been brought. That's the program that we're interacting with. This avatar requires connection, and it's very interesting because I've been trying to look within myself, like, for, you know, because it's not like, you know, there's a difference between loneliness and solitude, and I've experienced large chunks of solitude in my life, you know, contentment just with being by myself. But you know, there's times when you need to tell a friend how you feel about something. You know, you need to be able to reciprocate and be able to help someone on the level that's relatable to you as well, and you need to be able to be love and to give love at the same time. You know, that's just part of us. So yeah, what was I talking about? Well, yeah, so that was a large chunk of my teenage years. It was pretty weird, to be honest. But no, like, I assumed that then that, you know, maybe things would get better later on. Maybe you know, I'm just a kid, right? I'm growing up. Like, things will make sense when I become an adult. Things will, you know, I'm just misunderstanding something, you know. How could everyone be okay with what is happening here, or what's going on? They're adults, they must know, right? They must understand the world that they live in, because they've had so much more time than I have to see what's going on, to look into what's happening, and everyone here has a similar intention towards growth and evolution and you know, wanting to see genuine prosperity through cultivating your own mind and what your mind can bring to this substrate with regards to something you can create, something you can make as a society. But well, when I went to I left school and then I went to university or college, as some people in the US call it. Um, and I just found that instead of becoming more quote unquote sane relative to the culture, I found people around me began to deteriorate. At least as kids, people were less inside the box. People were more open because they were learning, supposedly. But now, looking back, I realised they were being programmed. Yeah, so more, I see more and more of that. People just, I don't know, it's very weird, like being affected by their five senses, being taken on by, the desires, the lusts, the emotional, like, ebb and flow of the lowest octave of the human experience, which is very much grounded in, the base, or was it root base chakra, very much centered around pleasure and maximizing pleasure and keeping that pleasure going at the expense of some higher ideal. I was a pretty weird kid. I was the kid who wanted to talk about whether aliens existed, and I remember when I was 5, just thinking that this world was crazy and asking what I was doing here, what this place is, and I thought everyone else would be asking that question as well, but they seem to be just very different, almost like a different species of entity here with the same meat suit. A real feeling of alienation, not only feeling like you don't have a place to fit in, but just feeling alien with regards to your outlook on the world, and having higher ideals that no one would understand why you would get gratification from, why you would do, or that these ideas even exist, or that are even possible. So moving towards just wanting to know, just wanting to understand what's happening here, because I knew intuitively as a kid. Now we know, like, diagnosis, like dia through, and gnosis, knowledge, like through knowledge. I understood that intuitively as a kid, that how am I supposed to make meaningful actions in this place that benefits not only myself but the people around me, the people who I have utmost respect for, because they're doing the same thing. So I thought, to know what's going on, and not a lot of people were doing that. Like, it's an absolutely bizarre, strange, phantasmic, smoke and mirrors, Twilight Zone reality that we live in, and the majority of people that occupy this place seem, and I've spoken about the NPC thing loads of time on this channel, but over the years I've really, I thought I would have integrated, but something happened, some glitch occurred, but there's just a kind of emptiness within me. But I don't know whether that's because I just haven't done enough work within myself to figure out why that's occurred. You know, just wanting to feel, that's just really wanting to feel connected to someone here, like in my immediate real life, and just not having that met by anyone. You'd think that hundreds of people you meet every day, some even find, you know, especially my age, some of them find a real connection outside of this social media laden web. You know, they see that as the alien. So yeah, it's kind of weird, but yeah, I mean, like for me, I've left work now, pretty much living off my savings, because I couldn't take, you know, in my last job, being around people that I felt so disconnected by, having meaningless conversations about so-called directions being taken, directions that they didn't take themselves, but a direction that they were shepherded towards, and just seeing how gullible they have been with regards to just going along with leading the herd off the edge of a cliff. You can't say anything, you can't do anything, they have so many psychological, mental barriers from years of programming, years of having the TV ingrained into their minds again and again and again and again, caught in a web. It's like the Ouroboros, if anyone's seen that, of the snake or the dragon eating its own tail. It's just this perpetual spiral, unable to see the light outside of it. So you have to, I couldn't take that anymore. I couldn't take faking who I was. I couldn't take just doing meaningless actions day in, day out, pretending that it was full of meaning. And yeah, you know, obviously reaction from certain family members weren't too great, so I've had to distance myself from them. Like, I found out that you know, my dad was still is a very controlling man, and yeah, I got a lot of low, you know, self-esteem issues, because I was, you know, I feel, I don't know, like, I don't know how I feel about sharing this, but yeah, like, I got a lot of verbal abuse when I was a kid, but it's kind of weird, because I know that you know, the typical stuff, you know, like, you're not good enough, you can't do this, blah de blah. You know, I always thought that that was out of love, but you know, if you're being narcissistically abused, you don't recognize when you're a victim. Very much so, wanting me to go follow a certain direction that he thought was ideal for me, because it made him feel good, for him to be able to, I guess, craft an aspect of himself that perpetuates beyond his own life. So, you know, to have kids, I feel, is a large component of people just wanting to immortalize themselves with flesh and blood, and so they can escape death that's coming. They know that they're going to die, but they know that they live on through their kids, if that makes sense. But you know, there's a healthy balance to that. But you know, recently, you know, I realized that, you know, my dad was very controlling about me doing certain things that he thinks that me quitting my job and all that, that's, you know, that's crazy. That's, you know, who would do that? I was in a very high paying job as a software engineer, but you know, that was just fucking soul crushing. You're just making shit that just is moving towards a technocratic revolution, control grids, like all of it, you know, it wasn't the right way to be, at least for me. At least my intentions with it was to try and see if we can use technology in a way that connects us more, and you know, the direction that's been taken is complete opposite. But you know, I'm rambling a bit, but you know, it kind of got to me. And you know, I've been sifting through all the stuff that my dad said to me, like in my mind, like in recent times, you know, making it out like as if, you know, what a narcissist will do is they will do something for you in the context of they did it for you because they were going to help you. They're doing it for your own good when you didn't ask for it, and then calling you out on your selfishness or your disregard for respect or whatever bullshit it is, saying that it's your fault, when really it's just like putting yourself on a pedestal, but it's not actually supporting the direction that your son will want to take. It's kind of like, what is it? Yeah, I mean, it was a big reveal the other day when basically said, oh, you know, your dream conflicts with the dream I have for you, and that blew it out of the water for me. No, that was the nail in the coffin to know what was basically happening to me. So basically got like shame from family and not feeling any connection to the people around me. You know, when you're, why does this happen to people who won't give into this psychopathic program, whose intentions are to build genuine human connection? Why does this happen? I'm not playing the victim card here, but this is how I feel. Deep down inside me, I know that there's a way out of this. You know, I haven't given up hope, as much as a nightmare, a waking nightmare this seems to be. You know, it's so much harder to go against the grain, and you know, that's what has led me to mention in previous videos that I reckon that, you know, all of this stuff provides some kind of, you know, some occultic forces. You know, they're applying pressure to ourselves and our souls towards some kind of spiritual illusion, spiritual evolution, not illusion. it's kind of, you're backed into the corner. You're just left with your mind. You're left with you throw away all forms of influence. At least you try to the best of your ability, and you just sit with yourself and you sift through what's a part of you and what's not a part of you, what's been seeded into your mind through trauma, how you see the world. Do you see it through rose-tinted glasses? Have you painted a negative picture when it's actually not entirely like that? Integrating your shadow self, the aspects of you that you've rejected, that you've projected out of yourself and that you attack. And I do that. I know I'm doing that. I'm looking for that within me. I'm also looking for people who are trying to do that themselves, because this is the way. This is the only way towards getting ourselves out of this situation, to figure out who we really are and how how we can once you don't have influences on you, you know that your intentions are clear and your actions can correspond with that. That isn't made to appear as if the action moves towards something that's progressive, when in actuality it's still part of the body of the Ouroboros. It's still part of that game of consuming yourself endlessly to feed, to satiate a hunger that can never be satiated. That's not it. I'm sorry, that's not it. But why is it so difficult to stay centered? Why do you have to disconnect from society around you because it's so toxic, it's so antithetical towards life? Why do you have to do that just to find any form of centeredness in your mind outside of all of these tricks, mirages that's just in the way, that's just trying to distract you? So I don't know, like, I've been in a very dark place right now at this point in my life, and there's something's got to change. Something has got to change. Something will change. Something, I know it. I know this, and it won't be. I'm not gonna wait for some entity, some psychopathic entity that claims to be my creator, that claims to be all loving. I'm gonna do it myself through willpower alone, because they can't stop you once you've passed the line, and you can't go back once you've passed that line. You can't. You've seen too much. You don't view things in the same way that other people view things. That's a trap. There are too many assumptions that they make that they don't even realize are assumptions about what the fuck is going on here. I don't know. I know there are other people out there. It just doesn't. sometimes it's too much to handle. But yeah, anyway, I don't know if this is useful to anyone. I feel kind of I feel like I should be giving something back to you guys, my subscribers, but at the same time I think some people are just happy to hear. I know some of you out there are going through the exact same thing that I'm going through, because I saw it in the comments of the last video that I made. You know, this problem's not unique, and it's very understandable. It makes sense why it's happened with regards to what it is the vast body of the human race seems to be. That consciousness is alien. You're constantly confused, you're constantly bamboozled by the way they can just so seamlessly interact with one another with no problems, no issues, so effortlessly. And you know, like whenever you try to interact with them, just, you know, a normal conversation, you bring yourself down 20 levels just to be able to talk to them, and even that's not enough sometimes. Even that gives you the weird looks, the weird reactions. It's very, very difficult just to even talk to them. It's very, very difficult. I feel my brain turning into Swiss cheese. I don't even feel arrogant for saying that. I felt, you know, I've had those thoughts in my head, and I've always shot myself down, calling myself a narcissist, when I know that it's not actually that way. It's not like that at all. Everything that's happened to try and knock you off kilter, I think they've done it because they want to get you before you can become fully activated, because they can't control you once you're past this line. There's nothing they can do, there's nothing they can say, there's no guilt tripping. They can even threaten your life. They won't stop you, and they won't stop me either. So yeah, I love everyone who's, all of you guys who are on this journey with me, and we will putting our heads together, putting our ingenuity together, authentic people. Like we'll figure out what's going on. Something will change, and it will come from us. Nothing's coming to save us. We'll do it ourselves. Because who would disagree with evolution? Like, evolution's the way to go towards growth, towards something that makes sense in this goddamn forsaken world of constant lies. So if you ever feel disconnected, lonely out there, just know that, for this reason, just know that there are other people. We are out there. It's almost like a heavy fog. You're holding a torch. Just off in the distance you can see a very faint outline of orange amongst thick smog. That's where we are in relation to one another, but just seeing that light pass through the fog is comforting. You're not completely by yourself in this place. I really feel that, and we're connected to one another. We really are. Not connected to the hive. The hive simultaneously is part of us, but it's like we've created so much the soul imparts so much will onto the avatar that the hive mind has a very hard time coexisting in its possession of our particular organic portal, this flesh meat sack 3D avatar holographic projection into this place, this density of frequencies, this limited rule set, Maya, whatever you want to call it, demiurge. So I think this is it. This is there's a way out of this. Like, there is a way out of this. I feel it deep down in my heart, in my mind. And I know my hands can move objects in this reality through my intention, through my willpower. Like, I use my hands to craft things. I've been working on this art piece that I'll be uploading to this channel soon. It's just a way to cut into the medium. Like, that's something that was very important to me. Maybe one day I'll share some of my works here, but my latest one I'll upload. It's just some way of being able to express yourself, and everyone has a little bit of that inside of them. Everyone has their own niche that exists outside of this mundane culture, and the society is just dead. Like, there's no saving it at this point, in my opinion. I just don't see how that's possible. The only way is just some kind of parallel society that's off grid, where, if we can bring together everyone's minds, everyone's creations, and we can put it together as a celebration of what life should really be about. It's not wash, shit, shave, time to be a slave. That's not living. What is that? What is that? No one can answer that. No one wants to talk about that. No one even thinks about that. They just do it. It's autopilot. The world of robots. But anyway, yeah, I think I've been rambling for quite a long time now, but take care, everyone, and I love everyone out there, and shit's gonna happen. I can feel it in my bones, in my entire body. Like something's gonna happen, and it's gonna be us. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I have faith in that. So take care, everyone. Until next time.